the myth that we're busting, that you have to test it before you buy it, that you need to live together before you get married. They have higher divorce rates. They have lower satisfaction, commitment, and communication. This is a pattern known as the cohabitation effect. How do I know that I'm even compatible with them if everybody in your life is telling you that they are problematic?
Yeah.
They probably are.
I'll just be honest with y'all. You didn't put questions in the comments. You didn't send anything. So guess what? We're gonna go to Reddit.
Reddit reacts.
And we're gonna go to Reddit and find
Reddit
stories.
reacts.
And we're gonna find things there for us to put. So that's
so
what you get.
let's get into it.
What do you suggest that they do in this situation?
Uno reverse.
What?
You heard me. And you can't
Uno reverse.
me back.
You're the therapist.
And you're the husband. You the head of this household.
Oh my God.
Boop.
You're my sky, you're my blue. I've been sticking with you.
Welcome back to the Good Love Podcast. My name is Paulina.
And I'm Josh. And here we believe that good love is worth healing and fighting for.
Which is why we begin conversations and create resources so that you can experience healthy connections. So if you're single, dating, engaged, or in early marriage, this space is for you.
Yeah.
And
well,
wait, baby, hold up. Because it's our 10th episode. And I've had a jingle for the podcast since before we started. And
yeah, you have.
And I just feel like it's time to introduce the people to the jingle.
Okay, go for it. What is the jingle? Is it a long one?
It's a couple seconds, but I really think it elevates the experience of the intro. So you let us know in the comments. Do we keep the jingle? Did you love this jingle?
No.
Did it spark joy? Or should we not keep it? And I'm gonna hit it. Count me down, honey.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to the Good Love Pod with your host Paulina and Josh Boom Boom.
Every time is the boom boom.
Because it goes with it.
Well, we'll see. Let
us know.
I don't want it, but I mean, if it's a hit, it's a hit. You can't argue with the people.
If the people want it, exactly. So let us know, please and thank you.
I mean, it'll be so interesting how we're gonna try to incorporate that.
Well, baby, before we jump into today's topic, how are you doing?
Well, since the last episode, I have quite a different look going on.
You
a little bit.
do. Let's talk about it.
I've got some facial hair. I've got a haircut.
I like it.
So it's a little different than what I was, and I mean, a big part of that is that there's a new chapter in my life, and I just wanted to try a different look as well. I am no longer at my job that I've had for 4 years.
I know. Big transition.
A big transition. So exciting times, good things are on the horizon. I get to focus more on the Good Love Co., which is really awesome. So, really working on like producing even more and doing other things with it. And so, yeah, be expecting even more content and more things coming out.
And as you see it, like give it a little like, give it a little comment. Because my boo thing is working on it. So thank you very much.
Yeah. But life is good. Life is really good
right now.
Yeah. How about you? How about what's new? What's going on?
Well, I started working at a place called The Center out of Dallas, and I am loving it because they're super supportive, and I'm able to just work on my therapy there, on my therapist side of things, and then I can just show up here and just have fun and not have to worry about that side of getting a full caseload and things like that. So I'm loving that. Today though, my cheek is sore. And I don't know why, you guys. Like,
I think you were like laughing and
we
smiling
laughed so much yesterday.
You were laughing and smiling so much yesterday that you were literally, I think, a little
guys,
sore.
I'm not kidding. Like, my cheek is like sore to the touch. Like, if I was exercising it, could it be from laughing too much?
It might be. I have no idea. There's no other reason why it would be, but that was the one thing, is that we were laughing a lot with some friends yesterday.
It was a good day. So,
yeah.
With that said, honey, today we're going to get into the second marriage myth. We got into a few of them last episode, and this is a series. So if you didn't watch last week's episode on our first marriage myth, definitely make sure to check that out. But today we're going to get into a second
each
myth.
episode is not like it's just one myth. We're kind of hitting a few within that, and we're using one to kind of be the overall theme. So, babe, tell us, what is the theme for this week. What is the myth that we are going to bust, hopefully successfully, this week? How's it? What is it?
To the theme of this week, what we're going to get into, the myth that we're busting. That's such a funny thing to say.
Yeah.
The myth we're busting is
go for it.
That you have to test it before you buy it.
Test before you buy.
That you need to live together before you get married.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big one.
That you need to have sex before you attach yourself to this person for the rest of your life. That's the only person that you're going to have sex with then.
Because how are you going to know if not? If you don't test it.
You got to find out if you're compatible.
So
oof.
We really want to get into that. Get into even the science and the psychology that we do know in this whole topic. And our hope is that you would just like what we do here in the Good Love Co. is starting these conversations so that people can be better equipped to make decisions.
That's good.
So it's never to be on a soapbox and say, we're better than you, we've figured it out, or anything like that.
That's a good
There's
way to
so
put
much
it,
wisdom that's been given to us that's been such a blessing that we're like, here you go. Like, please have it. Please use it. This worked for us. And we also want to share the parts that maybe we didn't know about that we want people to be aware of. So
yeah, I think that the idea behind the podcast and having these conversations, it's not to preach at you and not to like, if you don't do this and this and this and this, you're going to be completely, your whole marriage is going to be destroyed. There's always going to be examples that are going to be the opposite of that, right? There's always outliers. But our hope and our goal is that we're going to share what the Bible says as best as we can, what we believe God is saying in this throughout it, and then our experience and what we have seen be successful and what may not have been successful.
Yeah. So I think, baby, and this is super normalized right now. I think definitely more than in prior generations, and specifically with Gen Z. I feel like people come so hard on Gen Z, and you know that I love Gen Z. I'm like on the
Gen
cusp.
Z is great.
I'm a zillennial because I'm right on the cusp of like millennial and Gen Z.
Yeah.
Though I'm technically Gen Z, I wasn't raised as like the younger Gen Z was raised, and so I got a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I feel like they get so much like judgment when in reality, they save more than prior generations. They're getting it together, but they're also way more cautious with marriage. Like we see that the marriage rates, people are either getting married way older or just not getting married at all, right? And they're instead choosing to live in together to test out, are we actually built for marriage?
Yeah, I don't think that there's a genuine hate from Gen Z of marriage, right? Like it's not like tear down this whole institution. It's not that. I think there's just like the practical wisdom of, you know what, like I just don't want to put my potential wife through something or potential kids through something. Why would I put that? I've seen so many bad examples, and it's almost out of like a cautious, like you said.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense, like conventionally speaking, to, hey, let's live together. Let's see how our routines go before getting married. Like that's such a big commitment. And I can almost appreciate the caution and the reverence for this huge commitment that you're going into, because I feel like in past generations, it's like people were so focused on the day that they weren't necessarily focused as much on the marriage.
Right.
And younger generations are actually trending the opposite. They have a reverence for the commitment, right?
Well, and I just, I think that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, but I think that something that we were talking about and that you mentioned is that God designed commitment first. Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, well, like what we see is that God wants to see that covenant and that commitment to happen first. There has to be that agreement between the two of you. Like we are in this, and it's not just a verbal, like, here you go, like I'll do this, you do this, and now let's live together, and that's it. You know, cohabitation is a big deal right now. I think the statistics say two-thirds of people actually believe that that's the best way to start and to see if you want to even get married to the next person.
Wow.
So, you know, if a huge majority of people actually believe this, that's the conventional wisdom, where we see God is actually saying, like, first, get married, then leave. Yeah, that commitment first, then leave and cleave to your wife, right? And so that's an interesting, it's different than what the world says. And so that's where, you know, there could be that little bit of like, well, I don't know about that, whatever. But like, we're just trying to give the information the best that we can because we believe in good love.
Exactly.
We want people to experience good love to the fullest. So that's one of the things that we see that's a big difference than what the world might say right now.
So I just want to share a couple of the stats that we wrote down as we kind of prepared for this episode about couples who live together before engagement.
Yes, cohabitating before the commitment.
Once they actually do get married, they have higher divorce rates, 34% higher divorce rates than couples who didn't cohabitate. They have lower satisfaction, commitment, and communication. I wonder how that was measured, but that's kind of wild that that's something that was found. And I have some ideas as to why that might be the case. And yeah, this is a pattern known as the cohabitation effect.
Yeah, this is something that's been studied for a while.
It's studied and it's known enough. Like there's enough of a pattern that there's a name for it called the cohabitation effect.
Right. And if that's the case, right, then we can see that studies and the data support something that the Bible has been saying or demonstrates for us of how we should approach getting married and living with somebody.
So I think part of the reason why there is this cohabitation effect is because when we move in with one another, there is no hiding, right? There is like just you and your degular. There's you with your morning breath. There's you like tired after a day of work, right? And when there isn't like a commitment, something as strong as like covenant and marriage, right? It's almost like it's not you and I against the world. It's still me versus you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like there isn't really a safety established. And no, it's not that a piece of paper is what establishes that safety, because that's not what marriage is. Marriage isn't a piece of paper. Marriage is the covenant of you and I coming together before the most important people to us, which is God, which is our family, and saying, I choose you, you choose me before all of these people, right?
That's right.
And so with that establishes like almost like a ring of safety that now it's you and I against everything else.
Well, and it's also, we become one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, it's like, instead of us being two people under a house and still not having that covenant, you're still two separate.
Yep.
Instead of joining together and being one.
Yep.
Under covenant, under that commitment, under that agreement. Like, I'm in this until the very end, no matter what happens.
Yep.
I don't care, from death do us part. We are in it together.
I'm rocking with you. So the way that you show up in that sense versus the lack of safety when it's, hey, let's try this out. Oh my gosh, like I like you, you like me, let's move in together. But I am testing you, right? That's the whole reason why we're not getting married first. We got to test it before we drive it. So you know that you're constantly being tested and vice versa. So I need to keep my walls up. I can't show up with any vulnerability because I want to make sure that I'm passing the test. And by the way, I'm definitely keeping tabs on you as well.
That's interesting, because then you're not your actual normal self.
No,
you're kind of like a pretend version of yourself. So even though you're living together, you're seeing that person and not who they probably are going to be after this true commitment happens.
And eventually that, like, people can only hide their true selves for so long. Right. And I think that that's where like this disillusionment just like really settles in, because again, there is no safety versus like when there is marriage, I'm going to show up imperfectly. This is it. But man, I have you to hold me in that and to help me be better. Does that make sense? I
think that makes sense, because there's something bigger than just you and me. There's a greater power involved that we are making a commitment to ourselves and before God. And that doesn't mean that there's never going to be a divorce or any, bad things are going to happen, even when people do that.
Yep.
But there is that like that underlying foundational thing that you are creating in your relationship that is beyond just you and me, beyond how we're just feeling in the moment, beyond anything, that it's like I'm making a greater commitment before all these people and before the Lord that I'm sticking through with you and that you're the one that I choose.
Exactly.
And a separation is more than just like, well, we kind of just grew apart and now we separated and there was nothing, there's not that strong foundational covenant commitment there to hold that together, at least that we can fall back on or to look at it and be like, but no, look, we made this covenant together. Let's fight for it.
Yeah.
It's not there. So it's kind of like that drift can happen a lot easier, in my opinion, at least from the outside looking in. That's how it looks like.
What was it that you said? It's like when you move in together, when you're cohabitating prior to marriage, it's not setting a foundation, but rather it's just playing a simulation. What was it that you said about that?
It's kind of like you're kind of playing as roommates almost in some ways, because it's two people in the same house working, but you have your benefits of the marriage without the actual commitment and contract behind it. And so it's almost like this pretend thing that you're pretending to be married, but it's not the full marriage. To me, it's just this idea of it's a simulation because you're not fully yourself and you're not fully free and open to be yourself because you're still in that testing period, judging if this is somebody that I want to be with long term or not.
And here's something that I'm going to drive over and over again is that when we have safety, right? That's when we can be our true, authentic selves. And that's when we're able to be more capable of loving, forgiving, healing one another. I'm going to give an example that's very relevant in our culture right now.
Okay.
We're bringing in Love Island.
It's literally on all social media right now.
It's on everything. Yeah. Okay. So I've never watched Love Island, but I was curious because TikTok got to me. I was curious. Now, with that said, we don't recommend it. There's a lot that we fast forward because it's ridiculous. But you see that, right? You see these people playing house. Right. Yeah. So they're simulating and they're kind of
an
like
actual relationship,
making each other breakfast, and they're getting intimate and having sex and all of that. Right. So it's a simulation. Oh, and they look cute together and they seem to have chemistry.
And it's all the highs.
But there's no foundation. So then out of nowhere, you see them coupling up with somebody else. Right. For instance, with like Ace and Shelly.
Yeah.
Where they like weren't closing off their relationship. They were still looking to explore. So you saw their avoidant attachment coming up where it's like, well, I mean, I don't really want to if you don't want to. Well, I don't really. And they were about to implode and end that relationship.
Yeah.
Because they had no safety. And you see that replicated over and over and over again. So you see like the worst of people coming up where they're like being manipulative and being mean and like hurting one another. And that's what happens when you don't have safety versus when you have established safety. And you know, this person was willing to take a risk to be with me. Right. Man, he came into covenant with me without even knowing like all my good and bad. Yeah. Oh, he's with me for real. Like,
so I guess my question for you would be, when it comes to that, there's somebody that's going to say, well, I am taking that risk by just moving in with this person. And I am showing my commitment by leaving that and signing a lease together and by doing, that type of thing. What about that? Like, how do we talk to somebody who would say like, I do have this commitment, but we're not married?
Meaning like if they don't ever want to be married?
Or they're not married at the moment. Maybe they'll think about that down the line, but they're just not doing it. But because like they're saying like my commitment, I'm showing that by moving in, by signing a lease, by doing things, though we're not one, we're still coming together, not one before the Lord, but like, we're still, coming together to do this thing.
I would say if you're not a Christian, then baby, that's up to you. Like, you figure it out and figure it out. We're talking specifically to people who are saying, I have a fear of God and I want to do things his way. And maybe I have a confusion as to whether this thing is important or not. And to those people, I would say that is conventional wisdom. That is what seems to be the best idea. And we see that all over scripture, and we see that in our lives, right? Yes, it makes sense to work for our salvation, to earn it. And yet Jesus is like, nope, my grace is sufficient. You can't earn it. You can't do a single thing. And That's so good. With that, it's like, yeah, you can follow conventional wisdom. But even with that, we have the statistics showing that it's not going to fare better for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Or you can follow God's wisdom that's saying, hey, no, you do not fornicate. You do not have sex. And you're not going to tell me that you're going to be living in a place
together
with a person that you like a lot.
Right.
And that you're not going to do anything.
But I guess that's a good question right there, because then but why not do those things? Why not sleep with somebody? Why not live with somebody and just start doing those things without that covenant? If that's what God is saying, why would that be the case?
Biblically, I would say, because literally it says not to. It says, hey, that is something that is exclusively for the relationship of marriage. Psychologically, I would say, because then you are putting yourself in this vulnerable position. And again, we see it in these dating shows where people put themselves out there and they give up pieces of themselves. And we want to say good. Sex isn't a big deal. Yes, it freaking is. You can literally see that in Love Island, which is like the funniest place to find this highlighted.
You can literally see the truths play out right there. But you see
Sierra and Nick, as soon as they had sex, she switched up. She switched up on us. She wasn't as carefree and just go with the flow, right? Why? Because there was an intimacy established, and yet you're feeling super insecure in that because you don't have the foundation to hold you. And what we're submitting is that foundation that holds this intimacy and these parts of you that really cost you to give out, the perfect foundation there is marriage, is covenant, is coming before God and saying, I choose you.
That's so good. And following God. And you know what? That's just a great principle in every aspect of our life. Mm-hmm. You know, conventional wisdom. Well, I should save all my money and do this and this with my money and invest it.
Yep.
And then biblically, we see something about tithing and giving to the church. And it's like, why would you give 10% of your income to that? Like, don't you know you could make this money and just do this and do this? But God
or I don't know how that pastor's going to spend that money. I can better decide on, you know what I mean? And it's like, well,
but it's the conventional, or what we could say in other words is the world's wisdom versus what's God's wisdom.
Yeah.
And the major principle that that we could help anybody with is, are you living your life? Are you living your marriage based upon the world's wisdom or on God's wisdom?
Yep.
And I would even go further, babe, with what you were talking about. I thought that you gave a great answer to why we wouldn't want to do that. And psychologically, something that we've discussed. When you have sex with somebody, or if you're living with somebody and you are going beyond the bounds of what kind of God has ordained and has planned out for you, you are skewing your judgment.
Oh, let's get into that, honey.
You are skewing the judgment that you are supposed to be having for this person. So in the dating phase, and this is something that we saw in a post, and we'll probably share that post because it was said really well, but dating is for discernment.
Yes.
And marriage is for devotion.
We will definitely find and link that post in the bio.
Yes, 100%. Or I'll literally put it here so that way we can see who wrote it.
Let's put it right here.
But I love that because that helps us to frame our minds. The dating phase all the way up until marriage is so for you to see and discern, is this person the one for me? And do I want to commit my life to them? Yes. And sleeping with them before the time is needed, before the time when you're supposed to do that, will skew that judgment, because that is an act of intimacy that goes beyond. It really attaches to that person. So then you could be in a place of, you are now overlooking things because I've already given myself to this person and now I need to make it work, versus I'm still in this place of like, I'm discerning and I'm trying to have proper judgment in this area.
100%, honey. We flip it. What we do is that in dating, instead of discerning, we're devoting ourselves to this person, giving them all of our best energy, all of our best time, devoting, again, our bodies, like all of who we are to this person. Right. And the crazy thing is, I think we looked this up before, like having a conversation. You guys see that we talk about this in the podcast. This is straight up what Josh and I talk about on the day to day, which is why this podcast will be able to go on forever.
It's something that we're passionate about and that we love. So like, we're always going to talk about it.
Some time ago, we looked up, like, when you first start dating, there's a honeymoon phase of about 18 months where your brain literally has those rose colored glasses on. Yeah. So we think that that's just like a thing that we say in songs and stuff. That's a real thing where you're literally,
an actual thing.
Your brain likes this person so much. It's bypassing all of the red flags that could be there, which is why in dating, you should be discerning, and you're going to have to be extra intentional about that, because again, your brain wants to block it out. Your brain wants the romance and the love story.
How much more if you're living together, you signed a lease, there's money exchanged involved. There's these, the lines are already being crossed and are blurred to the point it's like, man, if I get out now, I've already been with this person for this long and we've been living together and we've been paying into this house and oh my gosh, like, but I'm starting to notice all these red flags.
So now you've devoted yourself in dating.
You've given yourself.
But now you've been with this person for however many years. You're in it too deep. By the time that you start to recognize and discern, hold up, is this even the type of person that I want to be with? Wait a second. I didn't even realize that he did this or the other. But now you're years in, your heart is in it. You've been playing the simulation, so your brain has this dissonance going on where it wants to keep this connection going. But man, are they even the right person? Like, you didn't take the time necessary at the beginning to even discern. You devoted yourself so quickly, right? And now that you've deposited and given so much, you really want it to work.
It's called the sunk cost fallacy. It's like with a business, where if I put so much money into a business and it's not succeeding what I wanted it to, but like I've already put this much in, I might as well keep going. The sunk cost fallacy happens with a couple as well, because I've already given so much of myself, of my money, of my life, of my who I am. I didn't keep that still separate until I really understood who this person was, or trusted to do it God's way and waited to have that covenant before really going all in. And so I might as well just keep it going, because I've already put this much in. And so it kind of traps you into that same thing.
Yes.
And all we're trying to do is propose. Maybe that's not the best way.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the way that we should try to approach cohabitating.
And if it is true that maybe you do have those rose colored glasses on for about the first 18 months in a relationship, then man, what would it look like to, again, take that time to discern, to step back and to see, well, how then can I know if this is a person that I should marry, that I should take the step with if I'm not moving in with them first? How do I know that I'm even compatible with them? Well, first start by discerning and judging the fruit.
Oof, that's great.
What else can I see in this person's life? How is he around his friends? How is he around his family? What's he like around my family? That was a huge thing for me. Yeah. Right? We were doing long distance. So it's a little bit tougher to tell, because you're not like it's not like I'm running into you in church normally. But I started observing how you already were with your family from afar and what I could see. Then when you came to be in New York and you were around my family, the way that you were around my mom, the way that you were consistently with me. Yeah. I was just like, okay, I'm seeing good fruit in this man.
That's really good. And biblically, we're actually supposed to judge by the fruit. You know, there's a lot of people that will talk and they say the right things, but is it backed up by the fruit? And that's the evidence that we judge it off of. And so I feel that sometimes, and this is just my thinking, potentially people will cohabitate because you want to have that certainty. You want to have that. I don't want to not know. I want to know 100%. But everything with God has to have some level of faith and some level of trust that I have no control over everything.
Yep.
And that I have to trust that this is the one that I see the fruit. I see these things. I do this. And then I take that a little bit of a risk, that faith plunge with God's leading into it, knowing like, hey, like I'm going to be vulnerable and open myself up to this. But because I want to do it God's way, I'm going to trust him in doing it his way, and that his way is best.
I love that, baby. And I agree with you. Well, how do I know if I'm not going to cohabitate with them? I'm not testing the car before I buy it. I'm just jumping in. Then first of all, judge by the fruit. I think a second very wise thing to observe is how do they cope? How do they show up when there is conflict, when there's something difficult? And you should be able to observe a few situations of that source or of that sort in dating, whether that's like through transitions of a job, if it's a conflict that you have that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
How are they showing up? Are they completely just shutting out and shutting you down? Are they getting loud with you? Are they, turning to a vice of some sort that you're able to observe?
Yeah.
That's good information for you to know. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you need to know
this
things.
person doesn't know how to cope with negative emotions or with tough things that happen in life. That's good information to know.
Yeah.
Which when we have those rose-colored glasses on, we're like, oh, well, I can fix it. I can help him. I'll change him. Like,
yeah, we talked about that in the last episode and the other myth of changing people. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So really understand what you're getting into before you truly get into it.
Yep.
Because yeah, that's a really good point, babe.
And then I would say the third thing is bring counsel in. Like, what are the people in your life saying about this person? If everybody in your life is telling you that they are problematic, they probably are.
Yeah. That's
another good. Like if you have decent parents that love you and have shown you that throughout your life, they typically want the best for you. So if they really are not getting like they don't like this person, like just pause and listen. What could it,
maybe I'm not seeing things clearly.
Exactly. And allow that counsel in and have that humility, because this idea that you're protecting yourself and protecting your heart by testing it out, the heartbreak is still going to be there.
Yeah.
The devastation on the other side of, dang, I devoted this many years to this person and they weren't who I thought they were, or it didn't work out. The heartbreak is still going to be there.
Yeah.
So instead, rather than clouding your judgment even further, we really want to encourage you in dating, take that time to discern. Take that time to see who they actually are, so that when you do step into marriage and into moving into with one another, you're able to devote yourselves to one another, which is in turn going to make that home life better.
That's great. That's great. And I think like just if we would speak on our experience, we waited. We didn't cohabitate beforehand. And you know what? Yes, there's going to be weird things that we find out about each other, or that you do things differently. I do things differently. But we were devoted to one another, and that I was going to serve you. You're going to serve me.
And we weren't testing one another because it's
there
like,
wasn't a test, because
we're in this together.
This is for life. So, okay. So it's like, we're going to launch this new thing together, and we are in it all in, both of us. So we have to figure out how to make it work. There isn't an option for divorce. There isn't a way out of this. This is fully in, all in. That's it. It's just you and me forever. So that compatibility, maybe some things weren't 100% compatible right away. But guess what? We have a lifetime to be able to grow and continually get more compatible. I learn you. I learn your quirks. I learn your features. I learn who you are. And you do the same with me.
Yeah.
And we learn how to cohabitate in an even better place, but with that safety and that understanding that we are all in together.
Good, baby. Is there an example that comes to mind of like where we didn't necessarily like do things the same way, or where like when moving in, we realized like, my gosh, that's a little annoying, or that's something that I wasn't expecting that comes to mind for you?
I don't know.
You were a pleasant surprise because I was expecting like all guys to be just gross, and you're not.
Yeah, when I think about it, like, I mean, there's just little things, right? You know, when you go to sleep sometimes at night, you get the zoomies. You get a huge burst of energy just right. And like literally, if you would just lay down and close your eyes for like 2 minutes, you're out like right away. But for some reason, it's almost like you have this burst of energy to fight against it and to just, and then you just want to like, in a fun and playful way, just annoy me. Like you want to like poke and do this and that, honey. And just like
it's your last reminder of the day that you have spice in your life, baby.
No, like you want to just like rip the covers off me, like block me from getting into the bed, throw my pillow, like. And to be fair, I love it. Like I actually do enjoy it. But I
appreciate that confession.
It's funny. It's funny. It's those types of things that at first I'm like, what is going on? But then it's like, okay, I actually love this. But babe, I'm tired. I need to go to sleep. So like, it's time to.
Yeah. One of the things for me is that like for you need to like close the house down before we go to bed. Like everything.
Oh yeah.
Needs to be in its place. Like there can be no dishes. And I'm like, yo, leave that one plate there until tomorrow. It's okay. And you're like, no, we have to. Ooh, and I was like it. So that was something for me where I'm like carefree and I'm like, ooh, spontaneous. It's 3 a.m. whatever. Let's leave it. And you're like, no. I still got to clean that one plate.
I just like things so that when I wake up, it's all just fresh. Like you just have a blank page and a journal, almost like, you know, you can start it brand new.
Yeah. But again, we want to remind everybody listening that you think that you are protecting yourself. And I understand that, like by testing it out, but really you're robbing yourself from safety because you know that you're being put up to the test and that person knows that as well. And
you may not think that, but subconsciously, I think it's happening.
Yes.
And it's one of those things that are going on and you don't realize it. Because the data shows it. Why would the data be saying that this does not trend well after you get married?
Yeah.
From cohabitating.
Some people would argue that part of the reason why is because a lot of the people who don't cohabitate before are Christians or are religious. And so when they get married, even if it isn't a happy marriage, they're more likely to stay in the marriage, which I can understand that.
But I would probably argue though that a lot of the satisfaction and happiness in those marriages on average are actually higher.
And the communication are issues that come up with cohabitating couples because again, in the dating, rather than discerning, you fully devoted yourself and then you had made so many deposits that by the time you realized, wait, this isn't even a person that I actually want to build a life with. You were in so deep, right? Yeah. Because you had devoted yourself instead of discerning from the beginning. So
that's good. I guess one question that I'll have for you. So somebody who is living right now with somebody and they're not married.
You know what?
Maybe they just started and they love the Lord and they want to do things God's way.
Yeah.
But they have been living together for a little while now. Maybe they're having sex. It's kind of like the lines and the stuff has been blurred a little bit. What do you suggest that they do in this situation?
Uno reverse.
What?
You heard me. And you can't Uno reverse me back.
You're the therapist.
And you're the husband. You the head of this household.
Oh my God.
Boop.
Well, okay. I mean, I would say that God is a God of grace. And a God that when we come to him with an open heart and a heart that says, hey, God, you know what? We haven't been doing it your way. Mm-hmm. And though it's really inconvenient, we're going to move out. We're going to try to do it the best way. And because we trust that your way is the best way. Mm-hmm. I don't think that you're losing out and that you're at risk and that you're, oh my gosh, we're not going to be having a great marriage afterwards. I think that humility and that repentance, that willingness to try, like to lay down my way and follow God's way is such a huge example of you following the Lord and allowing him to be the leader and allowing him to, to base your marriage on that. Mm-hmm. That's actually a really good sign. And I would just encourage you to do that. Go for it.
I just remembered this example from Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. I believe that he's shared his testimony where he and his now wife lived together when they were dating. But then they both got radically saved, gave their life to Jesus. And he would actually just sleep in the living room until they got married. I don't know how long that arrangement worked for,
okay, nice.
But there was that strong conviction that they were not going to sleep together.
Because they were together for a really long time, I think.
And so then they got married and they made it happen. And God honors that. So we don't know what that specific situation looks like for you.
That's a really good point. Maybe you can't completely move out. Like that would mean that you would have to leave a state or a country or something. It's like, maybe that's not the case, but maybe you can do something like that.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
That was a good question, baby.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think we're starting a new segment this week as well called Reddit on Reddit. Just kidding. Before we get into that, we hope that this encourages you. We didn't touch too much on sex before marriage. That's going to be, I think, a huge conversation as we go throughout.
Yeah, that'll probably be its own whole podcast,
its own series, honestly. But
just to talk about that.
I think the same goes for people who maybe have had sex before marriage. Is God is a God of grace and he loves you. And so if you've fallen and you're saying, I want to do it God's way, first of all, recognize that you have awakened a beast that is hard to put away.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to set up guardrails. You're going to have to set up accountability, whatever that looks like for you.
Right.
And God can forgive. God does forgive us.
God will forgive 100%.
And when we repent.
Yeah.
And like, it's not like, oh my gosh, my marriage is cursed now forever.
No, not at all.
There's this thing in Spanish, a saying, que lo que empieza mal, termina mal. Whatever starts badly, ends badly. And that's not the story of grace. No. That's not the story of God's grace.
That's not how the kingdom of God works. Thankfully.
And with that said, when we do follow God's wisdom, there is blessing. There is 100% blessing. And it takes faith to do that thing or to not do that thing, right? Yeah. But we can testify and really say
100%.
It's been worth it every single time.
I'm so happy. And I don't even know if we fully grasp how much we have been blessed by it. Mm-hmm. But it is the principle that we were talking about. The guiding principle of this episode is, are we basing our marriage on our wisdom and the world's wisdom, or are we basing it on God's wisdom?
Yeah.
And there's that bit of like that fear of the Lord that says, I am not gonna like try to do things my way. I have to follow you, God.
Yeah.
You know best. You have all the knowledge. You understand how this works. I submit to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you agree or disagree, let us know in the comments. Let us know why. We will be commenting back. We will be talking with y'all. And we can't wait to hear from you.
And if you disagree, that's okay. We still love you.
Yeah. And we want to hear like why, truly. And continue this conversation. Again, part of why we are here, our hope and our goal is that this would be a weekly listen for you, because we want to remind you to plan your date with your boo, to be intentional. And we want to also remind you of, again, the wisdom that God gives us to succeed in our relationships. Because in order to have a happy and a healthy relationship, in order to have a good love, I think it takes God. It takes the supernatural.
And that's what we believe. We believe that God designed it. He has the operating manual. He understands the best way to make it happen. We can testify on our end that we've experienced good love because we have followed those principles.
It's almost like we're going to the restaurant and we're trying it out for you and we're saying, yo, that egg roll is good.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Worth it.
You better order that. You better get that egg roll.
And then also sharing on the parts where it's like, dang, we didn't go, or we messed up here. Like, try this part instead. So
yeah, we hope that is an encouragement to you, that you are blessed by it, that you will consider what we're proposing and just listen. Maybe there is something there that you can implement, or something that God is speaking to you on. Ask Holy Spirit. How about this? Let's make it easy. How about you ask Holy Spirit? Say, Holy Spirit, what do you have to say to me in this? What do you have to say about our marriage in this? And let him talk to you
about our relationship in this.
Yeah. Let him talk to you about it, and let him be the one that guides you in it.
Yeah. It sounds like we're saying goodbye, and we are not, because we're getting into another segment.
Well, this is the new segment that we are now going to implement on all our podcasts.
Do we have like a name for it eventually?
I was saying Reddit Reacts.
Reddit Reacts. I love that, baby. I hope in the future that this is actually people like calling in or letting us know about their relationship stuff.
I'll just be honest with y'all. You didn't put questions in the comments. You didn't send anything. So guess what? Guess what happens now? We're gonna go to Reddit
Reacts,
and we're gonna go to Reddit and find
Reddit
stories,
Reacts.
and we're gonna find things there for us to put. So that's what you get. That's what you get. So
let's get into it. I'm gonna read the story.
Okay, and we're gonna react to this story. There's no names or anything. So
okay. Should I read the title of it too? I'm 26 female, supposed to be getting married in 6 months to my fiance, 28 male. I just got offered a major promotion, but he said no to moving. I don't know what to do. That's the subject line. I'm going to read the whole thing quickly. My fiance and I have been together for nearly 7 years. We've built a life together. We own a house, have pets, and are supposed to be getting married in 6 months. From the outside, everything looks stable, but inside, I'm falling apart trying to carry it, all of it. I was just offered a major promotion at work. It's a big step forward and something I've been working toward for over 2 years. It would mean moving to a new city, but also comes with a pay increase that would double. Capital exclamation points. Double my salary. Also, a chance to finally move into a more senior role. It's the kind of opportunity that doesn't come around often, and I'm very young to get the offer. When I brought it up to my partner, he basically shut it down. He said he isn't ready to move for at least 6 months and would prefer to never move. Unfortunately, the company needs an answer soon, and my current role is being eliminated in 2 months. Dang. I won't have a job if I continue to wait. So
the pressure is on this.
She either takes the promotion or she's going to lose her job. Let's see. This promotion has made me confront some other issues in our relationship. I've been carrying the emotional and household labor in our relationship for a long time. I plan the wedding. I do the majority of the household labor day to day. I manage our pets and I build our social life. I also support us financially and emotionally. He absolutely contributes financially. He owns the house and helps with logistics. But the day-to-day chores,
logistics, like
work is on me.
Okay.
Girl.
I mean, she sounds like she's killing it, to be honest.
She sounds like an amazing girly.
He has a house.
Come on now.
Okay, so what was that?
I mean, although in the beginning she mentioned that we've built a life together, we own a house. So is it his house and she's helping to pay the mortgage?
Married, and they're gonna have a wedding in 6 months. So it's already like time is ticking. There's a bunch of things going on in this.
On top of that, she says, emotionally, I also don't feel very supported. When I'm upset or struggling, he tends to withdraw or ignore it. If I try to share what I'm going through, he'll change the subject or make a joke. I've tried to explain what I need. Presence, care, curiosity, a little warmth. It rarely happens. When I bring this up, he gets defensive or frustrated. Our girly pop sounds like she's probably emotionally intelligent too. And I feel for her. Now with this job offer on the table, I feel completely stuck. If I stay, I feel like I'm giving up on an amazing opportunity. But if I go, it might mean ending a relationship I've poured years of love and effort into.
Ooh.
Any recommendations from people who have this position?
Dang. I mean, there's a lot happening in that, babe. I mean, and it's very much on theme.
Wait, hold up, because there's more information. Edit. The job is in another state. I'm looking at up to 200K income, and it's closer to my family. My fiance can also keep his job with the move. He owns the house. I pay rent 50-50 on all the other bills and expenses.
Oh, so it's a roommate situation in a way. Man.
So she's helping to pay his mortgage.
Right. She's paying a rent like a roommate.
Dang.
Even though you've been together for 7 years. And you're about to get married in 6 months, but you're paying rent like you'd be a roommate.
So first of all,
good Lord.
First of all, round of applause for Joshua, who found a perfect Reddit story.
Hey, I found a perfect story exactly to what we were discussing.
Round of applause.
That's right.
Baby, I feel like it's a good job. It's the fact that
she's killing it, by the way. So
she's doing incredible. I mean, also this is her side of the story. I don't know what his side of the story is.
Right, but from what she is saying, it sounds like she is absolutely killing it.
Like at 26, getting that kind of an offer.
Oh my gosh,
is incredible. And so great. For me, the fact that from what she's saying, this partner is like, I mean, I don't really know when you would get to keep your job anyway. You see that this is a huge deal for her. It's not like you have any kids that you have to consider. Why wouldn't you take the risk and allow her the opportunity to try out this role that clearly means a lot to her, right? And I feel like if you hadn't perhaps been living together, if you had, again, the discernment from the beginning to see, is this man selfless? Is he going to serve me how Jesus serves?
He sounds a little immature, to be honest. So like, let's say, for example, that you were so enamored with him. You're like, oh my gosh, he's just the greatest thing ever. Mm-hmm. And you may not have seen the warning signs because now we're living together. And again, we don't know the full story, but now we're living together. Now we're probably more than likely having sex. There's an intimacy there. And now it's all of a sudden starting to come up. Well, now that she's going back, because like this is a big decision, something now is shaking the foundation.
Which will always be the case, by the way.
There's a little shake of the foundation, and now there's everybody. Now we're freaking out because, hold up, now I'm reviewing who this guy is. And he isn't, like, when I'm having a tough time or whatever she was saying, like, he just makes jokes about it.
I do all the household stuff. It's not like we're splitting it. And if she's getting this kind of a promotion, clearly she's also putting in a lot of work at her 9 to 5, whatever that is.
Absolutely.
So for them to for her to have the bulk of all the household stuff is interesting to me. And then the fact that also emotionally, when she's coming to him, he either makes a joke or just shuts her out.
Yeah. To me, I mean, this is just from me looking at it. It just sounds like you've got a roommate situation. You got two people who probably, they love each other. They really care about one another. But you've got two people under one house. It's not one under one house. You're not one yet.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to feel it because there's decisions that are going to start happening.
Yeah. So had you maybe in the past, in the beginning of the relationship, before you had moved in and made these financial deposits and so on and so forth. The sunk cost,
like we were talking about.
And exactly. What is that called, honey?
The sunk cost fallacy, I think.
The sunk cost. If you had taken the time to see then, okay, how does she show up for me emotionally? I'm missing my family. They're in another state and I'm coming to him and letting him know. What is he doing about it? Is he trying to offer ways for me to be closer to my family? Is he maybe being intentional about, hey, let's go ahead and take a trip. I'll take care of your dog while you're away. How did he show up for you then? There were ways in the past, in the beginning, that you could have seen how he would have shown up for you emotionally. But when you then come in physically, and again, you already have the rose-colored glasses on, but now you've given some of your intimacy, some of your vulnerability. Yeah. You're assessing this how many years later? You know what I mean? We're
already passing the line on so many things. And now we're starting to realize, hold up, what about this? And again, we don't know the full story. So we have to make some assumptions. But it just kind of gives that feeling that you probably jumped into it a little bit too early, got too intimate, too fast, to where you didn't see a lot of these red flags that could be happening.
Yeah.
He's providing some things financially, but that's one aspect.
Also, you're helping him pay the mortgage on his house.
And you're living as a roommate, you know, but you're roommates with benefits. Like, and you're kind of pretend marriage at that point.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the love that you probably have together and the heartache that you're probably feeling right now. Yeah, I would imagine that's really tough.
Yeah. And it's not the devotion of a husband who is saying, I want to show up for you. I want to be a greenhouse for you, honey. How can I make you better? Maybe we can't move because of these other circumstances, but is there any other job here that I can help you? You know what I'm saying? Like, let me help take some of the household stuff away so that you can pursue opportunities here, you know, if moving is not an option. But from, again, what we're reading, and of course, we can only give our opinion based on limited information, but let's assume it's all true. You're with a guy who's not emotionally available for you, who is not serving you because, again, you're kind of this roommate helping him cover his mortgage and giving him all these benefits. And yet you never even took the time to see if this was the guy that was going to help you be the best you that you could be. Like,
so what would we say if we're just talking with her? What do we say to do in that situation? I mean, they're technically not married. They
aren't married. I would say that she devoted herself early instead of taking the time to discern, and that she should probably separate herself so that she can actually discern if this is a relationship that she wants to continue in, right? Outside of great sex or outside of just having these daily routines and convenience, is this a person that's going to fight for you? Is this a person that's going to... Is this a lifetime decision? Exactly. Is this I signed the contract for life, that's it? Is that the person that you want? And you have to really consider that. Exactly. And if that's a no, do it before you get married, at least. Don't do the whole covenant and all these things. Like, have that tough conversation ahead of time. But I do believe that this person, like the guy, again, assuming that all of this is true, that would have been true about him from the beginning. Like, more than likely, yeah. He wouldn't have been prioritizing you. He wouldn't have been sacrificial for you. There would have been signs. Or at least he would have done it the first few times. Like, guys can pretend for a little bit. Yeah. You know, but eventually that's going to fall away. You know. And so you'll notice that. You'll notice that right away. Especially if you have the right judgment, discernment in that mind space where you're not in devotion mode, you're in discernment mode. Exactly. So, that was a good one, baby. Reddit reacts. Reddit reacts. What are your thoughts, guys? What are some dynamics? What are some what do you think that they should what do you think? What is your comment on this situation? That's tough. What would your advice be? This was 11 days ago. This is like a real situation that is actively happening. It's actually happening. And if the person who's writing this ever sees this, hey, we feel for you. Yeah. I'm sorry that this is happening. Hopefully you get through this and some of our advice helps in some way. Yeah. Honestly, though, I feel like she already has her answer. Yeah. Because the way that she wrote this out, it sounds like she just needs that confirmation from other people just to kind of follow through with it, which makes sense. I get that. Yeah. Well, there we go. That's our new segment that we're going to be doing every week until we start getting questions from other people. Instead of it being Reddit Reacts, we'll have Viewer Reacts or something. I don't know. We need a cooler name. Okay, Reddit Reacts doesn't work. What else did you have? Reddit? No, Reads? I like Reddit Reacts, but I'm saying in the future when we have people actually. Yeah, we'll come up with something else at that point. Well, thank you for tuning in to episode 10 of the Good Love Co podcast. 10 episodes. Let me know if you like the jingle. Let us know what you thought of today's topic. If you agree or disagree, I really want to know. I really want to hear from you. So we're not just doing this because we want the comments. We actually want to hear on the other side of this. What are you guys thinking? And what did you think of this Reddit story? What would you say to this girl? Maybe you've lived through a similar experience and you want to drop some wisdom for other people reading through those comments. So drop those there, and we will see you next week.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe.
Did I not say that?
You didn't say it.
Don't forget to
Call
like,
to
comment,
action,
share,
Pookie.
and subscribe. Please
Call
and
to action,
thank you.
Pookie. Let's
This
go.
is literally just Josh and I's little labor of good love. So make sure that you support and share it with somebody who you may think, would benefit from this conversation.
Please. Yeah, and stay tuned. We're excited for the next chapter in the Good Love Co. It's only gonna go up from here.
Goodbye from the Good Love Pod with your host Paulina and Josh. Boom, boom.
All right, we're cutting it before she keeps singing.
You're my sky, you're